Welcome back. This week I'm starting to extend the Cockpit Sole back. We're actually beginning the project of constructing the new cockpit on the boat. And then I'm going to explain why I'm going with a twin helm configuration in the cockpit, as well as we got a really cool package in the mail that we'd like to share with everybody. Also, I've been working on a client's boat down at the boatyard. I'm deep into it and I'm trying to finish it up in the next couple weeks. So we're not going to show a boat work video next week. We're probably going to show an interview, the rest of an interview that John did with us. We showed the first half of that interview a few months ago. So after I'm done with this client's boat, I'm going to get to spend more time on Duracell, in big part thanks to the Patreons and thanks to all the viewers, especially those who like and subscribe. It's helping us to get more done on Duracell in the future, as well as make better videos showing more boat work. So we're really looking forward to that in the coming months. So yeah, enjoy the episode. My name is Matt. Follow along as I turn Duracell, the legendary ocean racing sailboat, into a comfortable cruising home. Last week we showed a design that Marcos drew up for us. He is the naval architect that's in Greece that's been helping us draw the boat on CAD. And we were comparing and contrasting the different features of the design of that Marcos drew and my own design that he put up on CAD for me. And it created a little bit of a debate, which was really interesting to follow along with, because I don't know, that's what's really fun for us about this YouTube channel is the debate. And so a lot of people were very taken by Marcos's design, including my mom sent me a text the other day saying that she was wondering if I was considering changing my plan and doing what Marcos drew up for us. And while I love what he did, I think there's a lot of really cool elements to it. For us, and what we've been planning on this whole time, I'm going to continue to follow through with my plan to build a dual helm. The reason that I've chosen to build a twin helm system in the boat is that there's a few reasons for it. The first being that I really like being able to step through the cockpit without having to step around anything, so stepping between two helms. I've spent a lot of time on boats with big wheels. With a big wheel, you're having to step around it a lot. And Duracell's cockpit is just the right size where a big wheel would make sense. Twin wheels also make sense. The twin wheels will have to be smaller. The single wheel would have to be really huge if I want to be able to sit way out on the rail. And that's where I really like to drive the boat from, is I like to be high, as far outboard as I can be, and still be able to comfortably drive the boat. That way I can see really as far forward as I can. And when I'm sitting here on the edge, I can see straight through the windows all the way to the bow. And I'm sitting way up on the high side, and I want to be able to comfortably, without having to reach too far, steer the boat. If we were to have one wheel, the wheel would have to be massive. It would have to be at least 5.5, probably 6 feet across in order for us to reach it. And then again, stepping around a wheel that size is obnoxious to me. Doing twin helms is more complicated than installing just a single wheel, and I'm willing to take that. I'm willing to add that complication. We do have twin rudders, and so no matter what, it's going to be a little bit complicated. Yeah, twin wheels will be a little bit extra. But there are ways to make a very, very robust steering system with 2 wheels and 2 rudders. So I'm looking forward to that project. It should be super fun. The only other thing I'll say is that I have spent time on lots of different kinds of boats, and this is just from my experiences what I've enjoyed in the different boats that I've spent time on. It's one of the things that I really, really enjoy about sailing is that everybody's experience is different. People enjoy sailing for different reasons and enjoy different boats for different reasons. And it's just a beautiful thing that we can all have a different preference for these different features on sailboats, as with anything in life, different boats for different folks. To start, I had to take apart the Cockpit Mockup. I will use a lot of these pieces as templates to build the fiberglass parts. The first piece to build will be the Cockpit Sole, which extends outboard to the hull sides. I have to plan this build very carefully so I don't laminate myself out of a corner that I'd need to reach. So I'm going to do the first lamination. I'm doing a piece of flat stock, which is going to become the new Cockpit Sole. This is a piece of the foam that we used when we screwed up the first roof over the doghouse. I cut out a piece large enough for the part and prepped it by sanding and cleaning it up. I also pre-cut all of my materials for the lamination. The other side has bad fiberglass on it, so I'm going to put vacuum bag good fiberglass on this side. Tomorrow I'll flip it over and peel off the bad stuff and then laminate that again. So I've got everything ready to go. It's just time to throw the epoxy on and the fiberglass on and do it. I'm just going to do one layer of the 1708 fiberglass on this side, and then on the other side I'll just do a layer of 1700. Also got a new whiteboard, so I can finally write down in big letters my lists. So I got my first list up of the cockpit build in order, how I'm going to do it.
You're very excited about your whiteboard.
I'm very excited about my whiteboard. I have to say a big heartfelt thank you to Total Boat who need epoxy. They make a great 2-to-1 laminating boat building epoxy. I spread thickened epoxy over the foam and then continued on with the lamination, and you all know this drill. The next day, I took the bag apart and peeled off the bad fiberglass from the opposite side. To get it ready to accept epoxy and fiberglass, I sanded off all the rough spots. Ryan and Cranston came over to help vacuum bag. Ryan has a boat in the yard here in Port Townsend that he is converting to an electric drive, so we have a lot to talk about.
We got a really exciting package in the mail this week, and we thought we'd take a quick break from boat work to open it up and show you what's inside.
So we got this package from Linda Plant Simmons, who is Mike Plant's sister. and we wanted to share some of the stuff that's in here with you. First, there's a note that says, "We love, as Mike Plant's family, watching the Duracell being rebuilt and restored to venture the ocean again."
So there's a lot of exciting stuff in here. I think the thing that I'm most excited about are these prints. So as many of you know at this point, Mike Plant built Duracell and raced it solo, nonstop around the planet twice in the late 80s and early 90s. First in the Vendée Globe Challenge, the first ever in 1989, and the second time in the BOC Challenge. He only got Duracell to sponsor him later in the build, we think. But another one of the sponsors was this printing company in Minnesota, I believe. They created these prints of Mike and Duracell. And they created 1,000 of them. This is the 891st one. And Plant signed it at sea during the Vendée Globe. And I guess this helped fund the race partially. So these are really awesome. We can't wait to get them framed. They will have a permanent place inside Duracell.
There's also a bunch of magazine articles in here and pictures. This one is of Duracell leaving on the first Vendée Globe. Oh, it's Sailing Magazine. It said it took nearly a decade, but Mike Plant's dream entry made it to the Globe Challenge start, where his 60-foot Duracell claimed a windy stretch of the Bay of Biscay.
Mike Plant made it into People magazine in 1990, right next to Michael Jackson and the Street Viking Moondog. But there Mike Plant is right in between the two. So this article, we'll read a couple paragraphs from it. It says, "Alone against the sea, American sailor Mike Plant braces for a dangerous race around the world. A stiff breeze rustling his sun-streaked hair, Mike Plant strides toward the sleek white sailboat. Moored next to 12 other million-dollar racing yachts in the French port of Les Sables d'Olonne, sorry French people, its hull gleams through the lashing rain. The handsome sailor from Minneapolis smiles bashfully and shakes hands with a group of locals, then jumps cat-like onto the deck of his sailboat. Named in honor of his corporate sponsors, the Duracell is 60 feet long, 15 feet wide, and has a 70-foot mast. And for the next 4 months or so, the Duracell will define the boundaries of Plant's universe." So it goes on to describe a little bit more about the race and the build of Duracell. But we were thinking Matt could read the last paragraph to you.
To get in out of the weather, Plant repairs to L'Entrecote, the local bistro. By his side is his girlfriend of the last 4 years, Helen Davis, who runs a seaside restaurant in Newport. As he sips on a beer, the American adventurer struggles to find a metaphor to describe how his upcoming voyage will combine the magic and the mundane. Imagine going to your office, says Plant, locking yourself in for 120 days and working every day and every night. But the difference, he explains, is that while most people have to answer to the internal politics of complicated corporate society, I answer to the sun, the rain, and the wind.
I love that quote.
Yeah.
This is what we believe to be like, it's sort of the specs for Duracell. We think maybe it was part of his like racing entry packet.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if it's a sponsorship thing but it has this really cool photo of when Duracell was first launched. So it had copper colored decks because being sponsored by Duracell, it was the copper top boat. And when we first started getting interested in this boat, I actually went to see Roger Martin, who designed this boat, and he was telling me that when they launched it and with the copper top, it would get so hot when it was out sailing that the decks started to actually warp, and so they had to paint over the copper top. And you can still, if you scratch through the deck paint, you can still find copper paint underneath there.
So there's also this clipping from a magazine. They Who Go Alone, and it says Mike Plant, Persistent American on Duracell. Mike Plant also made it into the Congressional Record. Kind of cool. He made it in the Congressional Record.
So this is the official program for the BOC challenge, and it's really cool because it highlights all the different racers that were entered into the race, goes over all the sponsors and everything. There's a lot of really cool pictures and articles, and it's also really cool because it's kind of a look back in time of what boats were really popular back then. There's an article or an ad on here for the brand new J60. A look at all the old electronics that they were using back then. Yeah, just a lot of really cool, interesting articles about the boats and all the different entries.
So here's a print of an article from Cruising World. And it says, American Mike Plant takes on the French in the longest and loneliest sailboat race on Earth. So that was the first Vendée Globe. And what's kind of cool is we are actually also writing articles for Cruising World, regular articles about bringing Duracell back to life. So thank you so much, Linda. This has been so much fun looking through this stuff. What a treasure. And, it's also just means a lot to us that you said that Mike Plant's family is happy to see us bringing Duracell back to life. Mike Plant's spirit is a part of this boat and always will be.
It's really, really fun to learn about the history of the boat and everything that it went through. It was, Mike Plant obviously loved the boat and he sailed it really hard and was very successful with it. And it's just so fascinating to learn, from the building process to the sponsorship to the racing and everything that it went through. It's awesome. I cut out the rest of the center of the old transom. This will become the space under the deck with a watertight storage compartment facing out. I had to do a lot more sanding prep to ferret out bad spots and to get off any paint or residue for glass to adhere. I finalized my deck template before taking it to the garage to do the initial cutting. This part needs to fit in amongst a lot of funny angles and curves, so a ton of trimming to fit had to be done. So I got this Cockpit Sole piece fit in. Hopefully this will be the most difficult piece to fit in because there's a lot of funny angles and stuff that I had to shave off in order to get it to fit correctly. The next step will be to fit in a couple gussets that fit underneath here that will kind of be support underneath. Once I get those fit in, then I can glass the whole thing together. Lastly, I templated the gussets that will support the deck extension and make the side walls of the compartment. For a lot of this cockpit build, I will use as much of the old fiberglass that I cut off the boat to build new parts. I just have to sand prep everything to accept the tabbing. I used my template to cut out the parts and they fit very nicely. We have a few more Patreons to thank this week. If you are interested in joining our Patreon community, you can find us on the Duracell Project at patreon.com. So first, thank you to Chris, who's in Australia. He told us that sailing has reignited his passion for life, and he has started rebuilding a really cool little trailer sailor, and he's documenting it on YouTube. So we encourage you to check that out.
Thank you so much, Gary. Gary and his wife are actually practically neighbors here in Port Townsend. They're retired truck drivers. They did the Washington to Alaska route and they have a love for sailing. We can't wait to have you guys out to meet you and to show you Duracell soon.
And thanks to David, who is in Tennessee. Him and his wife do lots of cruising on cruise ships, and their favorite days were always the ones at sea.
Thank you so much, Marsh. Marsh is, he used to live in Seattle, and he used to sail J24s and San Juan 24s, or race them. Then he discovered biking and paddling. He moved to Minnesota, began coaching a kayak club, and he's also a builder of all sorts of interesting things, including this teardrop trailer build, which is pretty sweet.
And last, thanks to Ben, who we haven't heard back from. So thank you very, very much to everybody who's been helping support the project.